Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our channel where we explore the beauty of literature. In today's video, we will go through a line-by-line explanation of all the poems present in section 2 of your grade 11 textbook, English Yuvakbharati. Let's start. Let's start with chapter 2.1, Cherry Tree, by Ruskin Bond. This timeless poem beautifully captures the essence of nature's resilience and the wonders that unfold with the passage of time. 8 years have passed since I placed my cherry seed in the grass. Must have a tree of my own, I said, and watered it once and went to bed, and forgot. But cherries have a way of growing, though no one's caring very much or knowing. The poet begins by stating that a period of 8 years has elapsed since a particular event or moment. This indicates the passage of time, suggesting that what follows in the poem is a reflection on a significant span of years. The poet is referring to a past action when he planted a cherry seed in the grass. This simple act serves as the catalyst for the entire poem, as it sets in motion the growth and development of the cherry tree. This line represents the poet's initial desire to have a cherry tree of his own. He expresses his intention to nurture and cultivate a tree, indicating a sense of ownership and responsibility for its growth. After planting the cherry seed, the poet watered it once, fulfilling the basic requirements for its initial care. He then went to bed, implying that he didn't think much about it afterward, possibly underestimating the potential outcome. The poet confesses that he forgot about the cherry seed after the initial watering. However, he acknowledges that cherries have a natural tendency to grow on their own, even without constant attention or care. This line further emphasizes the resilience of cherry trees, as they can thrive even when no one is actively tending to them or fully aware of their growth. It implies that nature has its own way of taking care of living things. In the first stanza, the poet sets the stage for the poem's central theme, the growth of a cherry tree over a span of 8 years and the poet's realization of the tree's remarkable resilience and beauty despite his initial indifference. It introduces the idea that nature has its own processes, and even a seemingly neglected seed can flourish and become something extraordinary over time. And suddenly that summer near the end of May, I found a tree had come to stay. It was very small, 5 months child, lost in the tall grass running wild. Goats ate the leaves, the grass cutter scythe split it apart, and a monsoon blight shriveled the slender stem. Even so, next spring I watched 3 new shoots grow, the young tree struggle, upward thrust its arms in a fresh fierce lust for light and air and sun. The poet describes a specific moment during the summer season, close to the end of May. This indicates a significant turning point in the tree's growth. The poet discovers that the cherry tree has grown and established itself, implying that it has taken root and is now a permanent part of the landscape. Despite its presence, the tree remains small and young, just like a 5-month-old baby. This comparison emphasizes the tree's vulnerability and fragility at this stage of its life. The tree is hidden and almost overshadowed by the surrounding tall grass, which suggests its insignificance or obscurity amidst the vastness of nature. The poet describes the challenges and threats that the young cherry tree faces. Goats graze on its leaves, the grass cutter's scythe damages it, and a monsoon blight causes its slender stem to wither and weaken. These adversities pose a serious risk to the tree's survival. Despite the hardships faced in the previous lines, the poet observes a positive outcome in the following spring. 3 new shoots emerge from the tree, indicating its resilience and determination to recover and grow anew. The young cherry tree shows a strong desire to survive and grow. It is depicted as struggling and thrusting its branches upward, displaying a vigorous and determined effort to reach for sunlight and space. The tree's primary motivations become clear. It seeks essential elements such as light, air, and sun to support its growth and sustenance. In the second stanza, the poet elaborates on the cherry tree's journey from its initial growth to a challenging phase where it faces threats and adversities. Despite these challenges, the tree exhibits resilience, as evidenced by the emergence of new shoots in the subsequent spring. This stanza emphasizes the tree's innate ability to persevere and adapt, seeking the necessary resources for its growth and survival. I could only wait, as one who watched, wondering, while time and the rain made a miracle from green growing pain. The poet adopts a passive role in the tree's growth. He realizes that he can only observe and wait, just like any other bystander or observer of nature. As the poet watches the tree's progress, he feels a sense of wandering or contemplation. He becomes aware of the passing of time and the significance of rain in nurturing the tree's growth. The poet describes the process of the tree's transformation as a miracle. The green growing pain refers to the tree's struggles and challenges during its growth. Despite these difficulties, the tree's continuous growth and development are remarkable and seemingly miraculous. In this short and introspective stanza, the poet acknowledges his role as a mere observer in the tree's journey. He reflects on the passage of time and the nurturing power of rain, which together contribute to the miraculous growth and resilience of the cherry tree. The stanza captures the poet's sense of wonder and awe at the natural processes at play in the tree's life. I went away next year, spent a season in Kashmir, came back thinner, rather poor, but richer by a cherry tree at my door. 6 feet high my own dark cherry, and I could scarcely believe it a berry. Ripened and jeweled in the sun, hung from a branch, just one. The poet mentions that he went away or was absent during the following year, suggesting a temporary separation from the tree. During his absence, the poet spent a season, possibly referring to a significant period of time, in the region of Kashmir, known for its scenic beauty and natural splendor. Upon returning from his journey, the poet notes that he became thinner, perhaps due to the hardships or exhaustion of his travels, and he describes himself as rather poor, which might indicate a financial strain or a lack of material wealth. Despite the personal challenges and changes that the poet experienced during his time away, he expresses a sense of enrichment and fulfillment upon returning to find a cherry tree at his doorstep. This suggests that the tree's presence has brought a sense of contentment and meaning to his life. Upon his return, the poet notices that the cherry tree has grown to a height of 6 feet, representing a significant development from its initial small size. The poet is astonished by the tree's progress. He can hardly believe his eyes, likening the tree's growth to a berry, symbolizing a small and precious fruit of nature. The poet describes the cherry on the tree as ripened and jeweled in the sun, implying that the cherry is now mature and shining brightly in the sunlight, as if adorned with jewels. The cherry, representing the culmination of the tree's growth, hangs from one of its branches. The emphasis on just one emphasizes its rarity and significance to the poet. In the fourth stanza, the poet narrates the events that occurred during his absence and highlights the transformation of the cherry tree during that time. Despite personal challenges, the sight of the flourishing cherry tree brings the poet a sense of richness and happiness. The tree's growth, now 6 feet tall with a single ripened cherry, symbolizes the rewards of patience and the beauty of nature's resilience. The stanza captures the joy and astonishment the poet experiences upon witnessing the tree's growth and the fruit of his previous efforts. And next year there were blossoms small, pink, fragile, quick to fall at the merest breath, the sleepiest breeze. I lay on the grass, at ease, looking up through leaves at the blue blind sky, at the finches as they flew, and flitted through the dappled green. While bees in an ecstasy drank of nectar from each bloom, and the sun sunk swiftly, and the stars turned in the sky, and moon moths and singing crickets and I praised night and stars and tree, that small, the cherry, grown by me. The following year, after witnessing the cherry tree's growth in the previous stanza, the poet observes that the tree is now adorned with small blossoms. The blossoms are described as pink and delicate, easily falling from the tree with the slightest touch or breeze. This conveys the ephemeral nature of the cherry blossoms. The cherry blossoms are so delicate that even the gentlest breath of wind or the slightest breeze can cause them to fall. The image created here is one of fragility and transience. The poet sets the scene of lying on the grass, perhaps underneath the cherry tree, in a state of relaxation and contentment. As the poet lies on the grass, he looks up through the leaves of the cherry tree and observes the blue sky above. The poet describes the sky as blind, which may be a metaphorical way of saying that the sky appears unchanging and unmoving. He also notices finches flying in the sky, adding to the sense of nature's beauty and liveliness. The finches move and flit around amidst the dappled green foliage of the cherry tree, creating a lively and picturesque scene. As the poet enjoys the beauty of the cherry tree and the finches, he also observes bees busily drinking nectar from the blossoms. The sun is setting, creating a serene and peaceful atmosphere. The sun sets swiftly, and the stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, marking the transition from day to night. As the night falls, the poet notes the presence of moon moths and singing crickets, further adding to the natural ambience of the scene. He includes himself in this observation, suggesting a sense of unity with nature. The poet exclaims, "Yes, I," with a sense of pride and gratitude. He praises the beauty of the night, the stars in the sky, and the cherry tree before him. He acknowledges that this flourishing cherry tree, which has brought him so much joy and wonder, is the result of his initial effort in planting the seed. In the fifth stanza, the poet immerses himself in the beauty of the cherry tree and its surroundings. He enjoys the delicate blossoms, the finches, the bees, and the serene transition from day to night. The poet revels in the connection he feels with nature and takes pride in the role he played in nurturing the cherry tree, which has now become a source of admiration and inspiration for him. Moving on to chapter 2.2, The Sower, authored by the renowned Victor Marie Hugo and translated by Torulata Dutt. In this poem, we witness the powerful portrayal of a humble figure, the sower, whose unwavering dedication to his task unfolds in the encroaching shadows. This poem not only invites us to appreciate the beauty in simplicity but also offers insights into the cyclical nature of existence, where sowing seeds heralds the promise of future harvests. Sitting in a porchway cool, sunlight, I see, dying fast. Twilight hastens on to rule, working hours are well nigh past. Let's take a look at the difficult words and phrases in this stanza before we proceed with the explanation. A porchway is a covered entrance to a building. Here it's the place where the speaker is sitting, which provides shelter from the sunlight. Dying fast refers to the process of becoming weaker or less intense quickly. Here the sunlight is fading rapidly as evening approaches. Twilight is the period of the evening when the light is fading and darkness is setting in. Well nigh means almost or nearly. In this context, the working hours are almost over or close to ending. The speaker describes himself sitting comfortably in a shaded area or entrance of a building, which provides a cool and pleasant spot to rest. The speaker observes that the sunlight is diminishing rapidly, indicating that the day is coming to an end, and the evening is approaching. The twilight, or the period between sunset and darkness, is approaching quickly, preparing to take over the fading sunlight and dominate the scene. The working hours are nearly over, indicating that the day's labor is coming to an end. Shadows run across the lands, but a sower lingers still. Old, in rags, he patient stands. Looking on, I feel a thrill. First, let's take a look at the difficult words and phrases in this stanza. Lingers means stays or remains in a place longer than necessary. Here the sower remains in the field despite the shadows spreading across the lands. Rags are tattered and torn pieces of clothing. Thrill is a sudden feeling of excitement or pleasure. The shadows, likely cast by the fading light and twilight, stretch and spread across the landscape. Among the encroaching shadows, there is a solitary sower who remains behind, not yet finished with his task. The sower is described as old and dressed in worn-out or tattered clothing, implying that he might be a poor or humble laborer. Despite this, he stands with patience and determination. The poet, observing the scene of the sower persevering amid the shadows, experiences a thrill or a strong emotion, perhaps evoking admiration or inspiration. Black and high, his silhouette dominates the furrows deep. Now to sow the task is set, soon shall come a time to reap. First, let's take a look at the difficult words and phrases in this stanza. Silhouette is an outline or image of someone or something represented in a dark shape against a light background. Dominates means exerts control or influence over something or someone. Furrows are long and narrow trenches made in the ground by a plow. Task is set means the duty or work to be done is arranged or determined. Reap means harvest or gather crops, especially after they have ripened. The sower's silhouette, lightly outlined against the evening sky, is described as black and high, making it prominent and striking against the fading light. The sower's figure stands out dominantly over the deep furrows of the plowed land. His presence and actions seem to take control of the agricultural landscape. The poem reinforces the sower's purpose, which is to sow the seeds into the prepared furrows. This act is his current task. The stanza implies that after the sowing, there will be a time in the future when the crops will be ready to harvest. The act of sowing will eventually lead to a time of reaping the fruits of his labor. Marches he along the plain, to and fro, and scatters wide. From his hands the precious grain, muse I, as see him stride. Let's take a look at the difficult words and phrases in this stanza before we begin. Marches means walks purposefully and with determination. Scatters wide means distributes or spreads something over a large area. Muse I refers to reflecting or thinking deeply about something. Stride means to walk with long steps in a specified direction. The sower moves steadily and purposefully across the open and level field, suggesting his determined and rhythmic pace. The sower walks back and forth across the field, covering a broad area as he scatters the seeds generously and widely across the soil. The sower releases the precious seeds from his hands, which are crucial for planting and yielding the future crops. The speaker, observing the sower's actions, is inspired to muse or contemplate thoughtfully as he witnesses the sower's confident and purposeful striding movements. Darkness deepens, fades the light, now his gestures to mine eyes are august, and strange his height seems to touch the starry skies. First, let's go through the difficult words and phrases in this stanza. August means respected and impressive, often associated with dignity or grandeur. Starry skies refers to the vast expanse of the night sky filled with stars. The darkness of the evening intensifies as the light of the day diminishes. The imagery portrays the gradual transition from daylight to nightfall. The speaker's attention is drawn to the sower's movements and actions. The sower's movements or gestures are still visible to the poet's eyes, even in the darkness. The speaker perceives the sower's gestures as majestic and impressive. Additionally, they find the sower's height peculiar and remarkable. The poet's impression is that the sower's height appears to reach the starry skies, suggesting a transcendent quality or a connection to the celestial or divine realm. The sower's stature appears so immense that it gives the impression of reaching or almost touching the vast expanse of the starry night sky. In the final stanza, the poem reaches its climax with a sense of mystical and awe-inspiring imagery. The darkness of the night sets the stage for the poet's profound observations of the sower. Moving on to chapter 2.3, There is Another Sky, by Emily Dickinson. This poem invites readers to explore the power of imagination and the solace it can bring. Through vivid imagery and skillful use of poetic devices, Dickinson presents an alternate world that serves as a refuge from the challenges of reality. There is another sky, ever serene and fair, and there is another sunshine, though it be darkness there. Never mind faded forests, Austen, never mind silent fields. Here is a little forest, whose leaf is ever green. Serene means calm, peaceful, and untroubled. Faded means having lost brightness or color due to age or exposure. In this line, Emily introduces the central idea of the poem, the existence of another sky, which implies an alternate world or state of being. Emily describes this other sky as always being tranquil and beautiful. It is a place of perpetual calm and loveliness. It contrasts with the turmoil and imperfections of the world we know, emphasizing its perfection and everlasting beauty. In addition to the different sky, Emily tells us that there is also an alternative sunshine in this world, symbolizing happiness, warmth, and brightness. This sunshine represents the positive and joyful aspects of life, even in the face of darkness. Despite mentioning another sunshine, she paradoxically notes that there is darkness in this alternate realm. This might indicate that even in a seemingly ideal place, there can still be struggles or challenges. Emily addresses her brother, Austen, and tells him not to be concerned about the faded or withered forests in the real world. This line advises him to let go of the troubles or sorrows represented by the faded forests and suggests that a better place exists. Similarly, she reassures Austen not to worry about the quiet and still fields. Silent fields might signify loneliness, isolation, the absence of life or vitality, creating a contrast with the vibrant garden mentioned later in the poem. Emily introduces a different kind of forest that exists in this other sky, contrasting with the faded forests mentioned earlier. This little forest might be metaphorical, representing a small but enduring source of vitality and life. Unlike the withered forests in the real world, the leaves of this little forest remain evergreen, suggesting that this alternative place is full of freshness, vigor, and vitality. Here is a brighter garden, where not a frost has been. In its unfading flowers, I hear the bright bee hum. Prithi, my brother, into my garden come. Frost is a deposit of small white ice crystals formed on the ground or other surfaces when the temperature falls below freezing. Hum is a low, continuous sound. Prithi is an archaic way of saying pray thee, meaning please or I beg you. Emily draws attention to another element of this alternate world, a brighter garden. This garden stands in contrast to the silent fields and faded forests, promising a place of greater vibrancy and beauty. This garden symbolizes a place of happiness, abundance, and joy. It represents a state of mind or a place of inner contentment and positivity. In this garden, there has never been frost, indicating that it is a place immune to the harshness of winter or the coldness of difficult times. The flowers in this garden are unfading, meaning they do not wither or lose their brilliance. This reinforces the idea of an eternal spring-like atmosphere. It indicates that the positive aspects of life persist without withering away. In this peaceful and beautiful garden, Emily perceives the sound of a bright bee humming, which adds to the overall sense of life and vitality. The presence of a bee also suggests a harmonious relationship with nature, further reinforcing the idea that this place is full of vitality and joy. Emily addresses her brother and politely urges or invites him to take notice. The stanza concludes with an invitation to her brother to come and join her in this brighter garden. Emily wishes to share the beauty and happiness she has found in this alternative reality with her brother, encouraging him to embrace the same positive outlook and mindset. Moving on to chapter 2.4, Upon Westminster Bridge, by William Wordsworth. This poem is a masterpiece that not only captures the essence of a specific moment but also reflects the Romantic era's themes of nature, beauty, and human connection. Earth has not anything to show more fair. Dull would he be of soul who could pass by a sight so touching in its majesty. Fair means beautiful. Dull means lacking interest or boring. Here, it refers to someone who lacks sensitivity or appreciation for beauty. Touching means evoking emotion, moving or affecting. Majesty means grandeur, greatness or dignity. Here, it's the impressive and awe-inspiring quality of the view. Wordsworth begins by praising the view from the Westminster Bridge in the highest possible terms, saying that there is nothing more fair in the entire world, and it would take an extremely soulless person to pass by such a sight without pausing to take it in. This city now doth, like a garment, wear the beauty of the morning, silent, bare, ships, towers, domes, theatres, and temples lie open unto the fields, and to the sky, all bright and glittering in the smokeless air. Garment means clothing or attire, bare means empty, without covering or adornment. Here, the city is presented as unadorned and calm in the morning light. Domes refers to the architectural domes of buildings in the city. Glittering refers to shining with reflected light. Here, the structures are sparkling and shining in the clear air. London appears to wear the morning's beauty like a piece of clothing. The ships, towers, and other buildings that make up the London skyline are silent and bare, suggesting that the world hasn't begun to stir yet. Here there is no gaudiness but plain and simple beauty. Despite the man-made origins of these structures, these buildings appear to be submitting to nature. They lie open to the fields and the sky, those earthly and ethereal landscapes that sandwich them, as if the London buildings are between earthly beauty and the beauty of the heavens, and exist not in contrast to them but as a natural bridge between them. Because the workaday world hasn't started yet and the wheels of industry are still, the air is smokeless at the moment. It is clear and clean. Never did sun more beautifully steep in his first splendor, valley, rock, or hill. Steep means soak or immerse. Here, the sun's rays are bathing or infusing the landscape with beauty. Splendor means magnificence, brilliance or grandeur. Here, the sun's first light brings a sense of magnificence to the natural and urban elements. This is high praise indeed from Wordsworth, who is well known as a nature poet. He says that the sun never rose among anything, not even the natural features of valleys, rocks, or hills, more beautifully than it now scales the outlines of these city buildings. Never saw I, never felt, a calm so deep. This is the shortened form of the word never. Wordsworth often writes about the calm that nature provides. See his lines written a few miles above Tintern Abbey, for instance, or his talk of poetry as being emotion recollected in tranquility. But here, it is not the quiet and calm of the English countryside that Wordsworth connects with but the calm of the country's capital before the business of the day begins. The river glideth at his own sweet will. Dear God, the very houses seem asleep, and all that mighty heart is lying still. Glideth means move smoothly and silently. Here, the river flows peacefully and quietly. Mighty heart is a powerful center or core. Here, it refers to the bustling and vibrant life of the city. Even the Thames appears to be taking its time, languidly flowing through the city and under Wordsworth's very feet. Wordsworth returns to the buildings of the city in his reference to the houses. The inhabitants are indoors asleep, but the bricks and mortar of the houses themselves seem to be existing in a state of soporific calm. The heart of London, the people who make it what it is, are all lying asleep, still and calm. Moving on to chapter 2.5, Nose versus Eyes, by the 18th century poet William Cowper, with a blend of wit, clever wordplay, and astute social commentary. Cowper invites us into an imaginary courtroom where the nose and the eyes engage in a legal dispute over a seemingly trivial possession, a pair of spectacles. Between nose and eyes a strange contest arose. The spectacles set them unhappily wrong. The point in dispute was, as all the world knows, to whom the said spectacles ought to belong. Arose is the past tense of arise, meaning to come into being or start to happen. Spectacles are eyeglasses. Dispute means a disagreement or argument. This line sets the scene for the poem by describing a peculiar dispute or contest that has arisen between two body parts, the nose and the eyes. The choice of these body parts is whimsical and personifies them as if they were individuals engaged in a legal dispute. The cause of the dispute is the spectacles, which are eyeglasses or glasses used for improving vision. The word unhappily suggests that the spectacles have somehow caused a disagreement or have been placed in an unfortunate position. The point in dispute refers to the central issue that the nose and the eyes are arguing about. The phrase "as all the world knows" humorously exaggerates the importance of this seemingly trivial dispute by implying that it's a well-known matter of global significance. The crux of the disagreement is over ownership. Both the nose and the eyes claim that they should rightfully possess the spectacles. The term said spectacles refers to the eyeglasses in question. So Tongue was the lawyer, and argued the cause, with a great deal of skill, and a wig full of learning, while Chief Baron Ear sat to balance the laws, so famed for his talent in nicely discerning. Chief Baron is a senior judge in some legal systems. Discerning means showing good judgment or insight. In this line, the poet introduces Tongue as the character who will serve as the lawyer in this whimsical courtroom scenario. Tongue represents the argumentative aspect of human nature. Tongue takes on the role of arguing on behalf of either the nose or the eyes in the dispute. The lawyer, Tongue, is described as being skilled and knowledgeable in making arguments, as evidenced by the phrase "a great deal of skill." The mention of a wig full of learning is a humorous reference to the traditional attire of lawyers in courtrooms, highlighting the lawyer's legal expertise. Here, Chief Baron Ear is introduced as the judge in this imaginative courtroom setting. The term baron implies a position of authority or judgment. Chief Baron Ear represents the sense of hearing, which plays a role in the decision-making process. The judge is tasked with balancing the laws, suggesting the need for a fair and impartial ruling. The judge, Chief Baron Ear, is renowned for his ability to discern or make careful judgments. This line emphasizes the judge's reputation for being fair and perceptive, underscoring the seriousness with which this whimsical dispute is being treated in the poem. In behalf of the nose, it will quickly appear, and your lordship, he said, will undoubtedly find, that the nose has the spectacles always to wear, which amounts to possession, time out of mind. Possession means the state of owning or having something. Here, it refers to the nose's claim of ownership over the spectacles due to continuous use. The lawyer, Tongue, begins his argument on behalf of the nose. He states that he will provide evidence to support the nose's claim to the spectacles. Tongue addresses the judge, Chief Baron Ear, respectfully as your lordship. He expresses confidence that the judge will eventually agree with his argument. Tongue argues that the nose should be considered the rightful owner of the spectacles because it always wears them. This assertion is based on the idea that the spectacles are designed to sit on the nose. Tongue asserts that the nose's continuous and long-standing use of the spectacles amounts to a claim of possession that has existed for a very long time. This phrase humorously exaggerates the idea that the nose has always worn the spectacles. Then, holding the spectacles up to the court, your lordship observes, they are made with a straddle, as wide as the ridge of the nose is, in short, designed to sit close to it, just like a saddle. Straddle describes the design of the spectacles, which are made to sit wide on the bridge of the nose. Ridge refers to the raised, narrow, and elevated part of the nose, specifically the part that runs down the center of the nose from the bridge to the tip. Saddle is a seat for a rider on the back of a horse. Here it is used metaphorically to describe how the spectacles fit comfortably on the nose, like a saddle on a horse. In this line, the lawyer, Tongue, physically presents the spectacles to the courtroom as evidence. He holds them up for everyone to see. Tongue draws the judge's attention to the design of the spectacles. He points out that the spectacles have a design feature known as a straddle. This means that they are designed to sit wide on the bridge of the nose. Tongue continues to emphasize the design of the spectacles. He states that the width of the spectacles is perfectly suited to the width of the ridge of the nose. This is a humorous way of suggesting that the spectacles were custom-made for the nose. Tongue further explains the design of the spectacles, likening it to a saddle that sits snugly on a horse's back. He implies that the spectacles are meant to fit comfortably on the nose, reinforcing his argument that they belong to the nose. Again, would your lordship a moment suppose, it is a case that has happened, and may happen again, that the visage or countenance had not a nose, pray, who would, or who could, wear spectacles then? Visage or countenance means face or facial expression. Pray is a polite way to request or ask. Tongue, the lawyer, asks the judge to consider a hypothetical scenario. He suggests that the situation he is about to describe is not purely hypothetical. It has occurred before and could happen again. Tongue asks the judge to imagine a face without a nose. In this hypothetical scenario, Tongue argues that if there were no nose on the face, there would be no one who could wear spectacles. He implies that the eyes alone wouldn't be able to wear them without the nose. On the whole, it appears, and my argument shows, with a reasoning the court will never condemn, that the spectacles, plainly, were made for the nose, and the nose was, as plainly, intended for them. Condemn means to express strong disapproval or criticism. Intended for means designed or meant for a specific purpose. Tongue, the lawyer, summarizes his argument and concludes that the evidence presented supports his case. He expresses confidence in the strength of his argument and believes that the court will find it reasonable and persuasive. Tongue reiterates his central claim that the spectacles were specifically designed for the nose. He uses the word plainly to emphasize the clear and obvious nature of this design. He goes further by suggesting that not only were the spectacles made for the nose, but the nose itself was intended or created to wear them. This is a humorous twist on the argument, implying that the nose's primary purpose is to serve as a perch for the spectacles. Then shifting his side, as a lawyer knows how, he pleaded again in behalf of the eyes, but what were his arguments? Few people know, for the court did not think them equally wise. Pleaded is the past tense of plead, meaning to make an emotional or earnest appeal. In behalf of means in support of or on the side of. In this line, the poem shifts its focus to the lawyer, Tongue, who is described as shifting his side. This phrase means that Tongue is now going to argue on behalf of the eyes, as a lawyer often presents both sides of a case. Tongue begins to present the arguments in favor of the eyes, switching from his previous position of advocating for the nose. The poet humorously suggests that Tongue's arguments on behalf of the eyes are not as clear or convincing as his arguments on behalf of the nose. The phrase, few people know, implies that the arguments may not be well received or easily understood. The stanza concludes by revealing that the court, represented by the Judge Chief Baron, did not find Tongue's arguments on behalf of the eyes to be equally wise or compelling as his previous arguments. This implies that the judge is leaning toward a decision in favor of the nose. So his lordship decreed, with a grave, solemn tone, decisive and clear, without one if or but, that whenever the nose put his spectacles on, by daylight or candlelight, eye should be shut. Decreed means ordered or commanded by someone in authority. Solemn means serious, grave, or dignified. Decisive refers to settling an issue or producing a definite result. Candlelight is the light produced by a candle. Here it refers to the evening time when candles are used for lighting. The judge, Chief Baron, makes a decision and decrees it with a serious and solemn manner. The judge's decision is clear-cut and unambiguous, without any room for doubt or ambiguity. He doesn't waver in his ruling. The judge's decree pertains to the use of the spectacles by the nose. The judge's ruling is that whenever the nose decides to wear the spectacles, whether it's during the day or by candlelight, in other words, at any time, the eye should be closed. This means that the eye should not be able to use the spectacles when the nose is using them. Moving on to chapter 2.6, The Planners, penned by the renowned poet Boey Kim Cheng, this poem invites us into a world where urbanization, development, and the relentless pursuit of perfection collide with the past. They plan, they build, all spaces are gridded, filled with permutations of possibilities. The buildings are in alignment with the roads, which meet at desired points, linked by bridges all hang, in the grace of mathematics. They build and will not stop, even the sea draws back, and the skies surrender. Let's go through difficult words before continuing with the line-by-line explanation. Gridded means arranged in a grid or lattice pattern. Here, it describes how spaces are meticulously organized in a structured grid in the context of urban planning. Permutations are arrangements or combinations of elements in different orders. Here, it refers to the various possible arrangements or configurations that urban spaces can take under the planner's control. Alignment is the arrangement in a straight line or in correct relative positions. Here, it indicates that buildings are positioned in a straight line with roads, emphasizing order and precision in the city's layout. Desired means wished for or wanted. Here, it suggests that the roads meet at specific points according to the planner's intentions. Grace means elegance, beauty, or charm. Here, it describes the elegant and harmonious nature of the city's layout achieved through mathematical precision. Surrender means to give up or yield. Here, it implies that even natural elements like the sea and skies yield or give way to human development. This line sets the tone for the entire poem by introducing the actions of the people in control, the planners and builders. They are actively involved in shaping the city. This line conveys the idea that every space within the city is meticulously organized and structured. The word gridded suggests a strict, geometric layout. Permutations of possibilities implies that the city's layout is highly organized and designed with a multitude of potential uses or arrangements, but within a controlled framework. This line emphasizes the precision and orderliness of the city's construction. Buildings are carefully placed so that they align with the roads, reinforcing the idea of a perfectly planned urban environment. The roads in the city are intentionally designed to intersect or meet at specific locations. These intersections are not haphazard but strategically planned. This part of the stanza highlights the elegance and precision of the city's infrastructure. The bridges that connect different parts of the city are described as hanging in the grace of mathematics, suggesting that their design is not just functional but also aesthetically pleasing and mathematically precise. This line underscores the relentless nature of the planners and builders. They are continuously constructing and developing the city without any intention of pausing or ceasing their activities. It suggests an unwavering commitment to progress and expansion. This line carries a metaphorical and perhaps even literal meaning. Metaphorically, it suggests that the city's development is so relentless that even the natural world, represented by the sea, seems to retreat or be pushed back by it. In a literal sense, this could refer to land reclamation or changes in the coastline due to urbanization, a phenomenon seen in some coastal cities. Here, the poet personifies the skies, implying that they too submit or yield to the overwhelming urbanization. This personification emphasizes the dominance of human construction over the natural environment. They erase the flaws, the blemishes of the past, knock off useless blocks with dental dexterity. All gaps are plugged with gleaming gold. The country wears perfect rows of shining teeth. Anesthesia, amnesia, hypnosis, they have the means. They have it all so it will not hurt. So history is new again. The piling will not stop. The drilling goes right through the fossils of last century. Flaws are imperfections or defects. Here, it refers to imperfections or shortcomings in the cityscape that the planners aim to eliminate. Blemishes are marks or imperfections that mar the appearance. Similar to flaws, it signifies undesirable elements in the cityscape that the planners want to remove. Dexterity means skill and agility. Here, it describes the skill and precision with which the planners remove unwanted elements during construction. Plugged means filled or sealed tightly. Here, it suggests that gaps or spaces are sealed or filled with gleaming gold, emphasizing perfection. Anesthesia is a medical state induced to numb pain. Amnesia is a condition characterized by partial or total memory loss. Hypnosis is a trance-like state of heightened suggestibility. These terms collectively describe how the planners have the means to control and manipulate the perceptions and memories of the people, ensuring they accept changes without pain, forget the past, and are influenced by the new narrative. Means are the methods or resources used to achieve something. In the poem, means refer to the tools, methods, or resources available to the planners to control and shape the cityscape. Piling is the process of driving foundation piles into the ground during construction. Drilling is the act of making holes or tunnels using a drilling tool. Fossils are preserved remains or traces of ancient organisms. Here, it is used metaphorically to represent remnants or traces of the past, such as historical or cultural elements from a previous era, which are disrupted or destroyed by urban development. This line suggests that the planners and builders are dedicated to removing any imperfections or remnants of the past in the city. They want to create a clean slate, free from any historical or architectural blemishes. The phrase, dental dexterity, is a metaphorical expression that compares the precision and skill of the builders to that of a dentist. Just as a dentist removes problematic or unnecessary elements from teeth, the builders are metaphorically removing useless blocks from the cityscape with great skill and precision. This line conveys the idea that any gaps or spaces left after the removal of imperfections are filled with something valuable and precious, represented here as gleaming gold. This could symbolize the materialistic and affluent nature of the new city. This line likens the transformed city to a country with perfect rows of shining teeth. This metaphor emphasizes the idea of a flawless, idealized appearance. It also hints at a sense of uniformity and conformity in the city's design, as rows of teeth are typically uniform in appearance. These three words suggest that the planners and builders employ various methods to numb, erase, or hypnotize the people and the city's history. These methods are figurative and emphasize how the population is made to forget or become indifferent to the past and the changes occurring around them. This line acknowledges that those in control have the resources and power to carry out their plans effectively. They can shape the city as they see fit. This phrase implies that the planners and builders have everything under their control, so the process of urban development doesn't cause pain or discomfort to the people. It could also suggest that they shield the public from the negative consequences or discomfort associated with rapid change and progress. This line is significant because it touches on the central theme of the poem. The planners' efforts to erase, transform, and control the city are so thorough that they effectively rewrite history. The past is made to seem as though it never existed or is irrelevant, and the city is portrayed as if it has a completely fresh start. This line emphasizes the continuous and ceaseless construction activity in the city. Piling refers to the process of driving piles or columns into the ground as a foundation for buildings or structures. The use of "will not stop" suggests that this construction is ongoing and shows no sign of ending. The word drilling implies the use of machinery to create holes or tunnels. Here, it signifies the invasive and disruptive nature of development as it penetrates deeply into the environment. This line is metaphorical and carries several meanings. Fossils of last century symbolize remnants of the past, which are being literally and figuratively penetrated by modern construction. It suggests that historical and cultural elements from the previous century are being destroyed or overshadowed by the new developments. The use of fossils implies that these elements are becoming ancient history, no longer relevant in the contemporary city. But my heart would not bleed poetry, not a single drop to stain the blueprint of our past's tomorrow. Stain is a mark that discolors or tarnishes something. Here, it's used metaphorically to suggest that the heart would not produce poetry or emotion to stain the perfect vision of the future. Blueprint is a detailed plan or design, typically a technical drawing outlining a structure. Here, it refers to the meticulously planned vision for the city's future, emphasizing the rigid and calculated approach to development. This line conveys that the poet's heart does not inspire or produce poetry in response to the changes happening in the city. In other words, he does not find artistic or emotional inspiration in the urban transformation. This phrase further emphasizes the absence of poetic inspiration or emotion. The blueprint symbolizes the planned, structured, and controlled environment of the city. The poet's heart does not produce anything that would disrupt or stain this orderly blueprint. This line is somewhat paradoxical. It suggests that the city's future is connected to its past, and the poet's inability to generate poetry reflects a disconnect between the two. The poet seems to lament the loss of a deeper, more meaningful connection between the city's history and its present and future state. That concludes our today's lesson. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more literary explorations. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. See you in the next video.